Next on Valley News Live at 10, the latest on a Moorhead man still at large after a high-speed chase and crash. More doses of the COVID vaccine headed our way, how you can make sure you're in line. Plus a surprise reunion between a mother and son separated for months due to COVID restrictions. Stick around. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening, everyone. The search continues tonight for a man who ran from police after a car chase and crash in Clay County. Here's what he looks like. 41-year-old Burton Bonham was wanted by authorities on an outstanding warrant. He was driving a car along Highway 10 in Clay County this afternoon when police tried pulling him over. The chase was called off because of high speeds. Not long after that, Bonham's car struck a van at the intersection of 11th Street and Main Avenue. Not far from there, the car came to a stop and Bonham took off. Police say they know Bonham and that he is not a danger to the public. A family's reunited tonight after being separated for months by the coronavirus border lockdown. The Grafton man landed in Grand Forks last night. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie was there when he surprised his mom.
She has no idea that you're here.
She has no idea that I'm coming today. She's under the impression that I'm coming home at the end of February.
Vincy Nelson is finally going home after a trip to the UK, one that drug on a little longer than expected.
I got there August 26th, and I was supposed to be home like early November.
He went to see his fiance with plans to be back for the holidays. But when a second wave of COVID-19 hit the world, he was stuck.
I knew I shouldn't go back because of the numbers. I didn't want to catch it and then give it to my family.
After some serious legwork, he booked a trip home, telling no one, hoping to surprise his mom.
She's here to get a bag because I decided to lighten the load of having all these bags when I come home eventually in late February. We're getting ready to surprise her.
In disguise, she almost didn't recognize him until she heard the familiar voice.
Not just one bag.
The Transportation Security Administration asks the public to report any unattended baggage, suspicious behavior, or activity. Please immediately report any incidents to a TSA.
Were you surprised? Oh, I can't believe it, yes.
No.
It's home to Grafton to share the good news. Vincy hoping his next trip to see his fiance goes a little more according to plan. In Grand Forks, Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
Now, if you want to see the full video of that reuniting, download the VNL News app and click on this story.
Well, I hope there's people not waiting for their traditional provider to get vaccine. There's a number of different providers who have vaccines. You may need to get your COVID vaccine at a pharmacy, local public health, or a different private provider. And so that's
the latest from the North Dakota Health Department this afternoon. Don't wait for your healthcare provider to get the vaccine. They say you have a number of options across the state. All of them are expecting to receive more doses of vaccine soon. The federal government is sending more than 2,000 doses per week directly to Thrifty White pharmacies across North Dakota for distribution, and that number is expected to grow. It's part of a new program where they're scheduling vaccine appointments on a weekly basis, but hope to allow patients to schedule weeks in advance once they have a routine in place. You can set up an appointment at thriftywhite.com/COVID-19 vaccine.
The pharmacy is a great place to get, other healthcare services outside of just your prescription. It's just a more inviting or less intimidating environment where you have relationships and it's easy access for people to get into their pharmacy to get a vaccine.
And then do your thing.
In the next few days, Thrifty White will be adding a feature to its website for people to join a waiting list if appointments are full at a specific location. In Grand Forks, the announcement came this afternoon that they're now vaccinating anyone 65 or older, regardless of underlying health conditions. North Dakota is leading the nation at administering the vaccine. Nearly 80% of the state's allocation has already been given to residents. There's a lot to keep up with regarding the vaccine, so here's an easy way to do so. It's joining the VNL Vaccine Tracker. You can find it on our website or by opening your phone's camera and scanning the QR code here. We'll keep it up at the bottom of your screen for a couple of minutes. Johnson & Johnson says their COVID-19 vaccine is ready to go if they get the government's green light later this month. According to a federal health official, roughly 10 million doses would be ready if approval is given in the coming weeks. That number is expected to grow to 20 or 30 million doses by April. If approved, the single-dose vaccine would arrive in the Valley next month. So far, the COVID vaccine appears to be safe for pregnant women. About 20,000 moms-to-be have already been given the shot. Dr. Anthony Fauci says among those women, there have been no red flags. However, both Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines called for excluding pregnant women from receiving doses when manufacturers applied for emergency use authorization. The National Institutes of Health says today that it wants more pregnant and breastfeeding women involved in vaccine trials. The CDC is changing its quarantine recommendations for Americans who have been fully vaccinated against COVID. The agency now says once 2 weeks have passed since the person's final dose, they do not have to quarantine if they're exposed to someone who is infected. The CDC is also warning immunity can wear off and that 3 months post-vaccination, people should monitor for symptoms and possibly quarantine. A Minnesota child under the age of 9 has died from COVID-19. The health department is saying it happened in Chippewa County. The child had an unspecified underlying condition and is one of the youngest people to die from the disease. Only one other child younger than 5 has died with COVID in Minnesota. The man accused in yesterday's mass shooting in Alina Clinic has dozens of run-ins with the law enforcement over the past 15 years. Now that includes a report made by his doctor 2 years ago warning police about mass shooting threats. Reporter AJ Legao shows us the history and how this was pre-planned.
I got 4 or 5 with gunshots back here.
More than 2 years before the gunshots.
At least 15 shots were fired.
Before the calls to respond to a mass casualty.
Send as many ambulances as you can.
Gregory Ulrich threatened to do just what he is now suspected of doing at the Buffalo Alina Clinic. October 13th, 2018. Records show police got a call from a clinic doctor who said Ulrich was calling with threats about shooting, blowing things up, and practicing different scenarios of how to get revenge. That he was angry with the medical community, a threat to himself and society, and that he wanted it big and sensational so that it makes an impact. Police talked to Ulrich, who said he dreams about revenge to the people that tortured him, referring to back surgeries and medication issues. Raymond Zanstra is a former roommate of Ulrich.
He was all ticked off about doctors and the clinic and stuff in Buffalo because nobody would give him his medication anymore.
Ulrich was issued a harassment restraining order. The court record details that in addition to his threats of mass violence at medical clinics and hospitals, he was testing how to get through security with a length of steel since he knew he only had seconds after getting past security to achieve his goal.
Before they even said his name.
Zanstra says he immediately suspected who might be behind the attack on the clinic. The warning signs there for years, the threat, no surprise.
No, not at all. No.
Ulrich is expected to be in court tomorrow morning. Cold temps tend to increase the fire calls. In the last week, sub-zero temps played a role in a Fargo mobile home fire, a downtown pipe bursting, and a West Fargo vehicle fire.
You know, people do what they need to do to stay warm sometimes, especially if there's, circumstances beyond your control. You're just trying to do what it takes to thaw something out or to stay warm. And unfortunately, that can lead to problems.
Experts say if you're going to use a heat gun or a hairdryer to warm up your pipes, do so at a distance. They also remind you to make sure any cords are in good shape and urge you to plug space heaters directly into the wall, saying using extension cords or power strips, they're not designed for that and could overheat, starting a fire. It's been 5 years since a Fargo police officer died in the line of duty. Officer Jason Mosier died on February 11, 2016, after responding to a domestic disturbance call in North Fargo. Police are holding a memorial service in his honor tomorrow morning in the City Commission chambers. You can catch that live streaming on our website, valleynewslive.com. Later on Valley News Live at 10, nearly 24 fishermen stuck on ice in Minnesota will share their experience.
Wind chills will play a role once again. We're looking towards a little bit of a warm up. I'll have those details coming up next.